Hello and welcome to the Fight Town podcast with myself, Alex LeBox, and Rob Boxing Shrew. Rob, we've got Georgie Ellis on the podcast. Georgie, how you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you both for having me on.
No, you're welcome, Georgie. Thanks for sort of taking the time out on Fight Week, mate. We appreciate it.
Yeah, much appreciated, Georgie. It's a big night coming up this Saturday at the York, a venue you know very well, Georgie. Are you looking forward to this fight?
Yeah, I love York Horse venue. Small hall boxing, the atmosphere in there is unreal. I really look forward to boxing in there.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
This will be the third time as a pro, right?
Yeah, third professional fight in there. I had my third, and then this will be my fourth fight in there.
Hey, it's moved pretty quickly, man. We had you on. I don't know if you remember. We had you on for the sort of Twitter Spaces presser before your debut, and you said you were absolutely buzzing for it. And before you know it, you've racked up a 3-0. How do you see your professional journey so far in the last 12 months?
I'm really pleased. I mean, we've had 3-4 rounders now. This is my first step up to a 6-rounder. Looking forward to it. I mean, as you got longer rounds, more rounds, you get to showcase a bit more of your skills. 4 rounds, it's quite short. You have to get your work in quick and get out. 6 rounds,
Yeah.
You can start really showing what you've got.
Yeah. Georgie, just a quick one. Like you say, you're a very gifted, skilled boxer. You've got that sort of flair about you. With the sort of shorter rounds, when you start off as a pro, have you found it quite difficult to sort of adapt to that? And in terms of, you've got to put all your showcase and your skills out very quickly. Is that something you found difficult, or are you sort of adapting to it now?
I think I've adapted quite well. The only difference is obviously them men that I'm fighting, they know how to survive. I can hit them with some brilliant shots, and they've been hit much harder because they're used to fighting heavier weight. So it's a bit harder to break them down.
Yeah.
But I think the second you see me start getting in with some more prospects, that's when you'll see my power and my abilities showcase a little bit more.
Yeah, and do you know what you touch on that? It's I've spoken to a couple of people who are sort of similar sort of stage of you in their career. It's bloody tough fighting those blokes, isn't they? Because they've been hit with everything, that a lot of other people have got, and they sort of just stand there and look at you, don't they? And it's can that be disheartening, or is it just part of the process?
Oh, it's part of the process, really. I mean, if you're one of them that think you're a knockout artist, then yeah, I guess so. But for me, I like to think I'm very patient. I will not pounce until it's pretty much set in stone. In every fight, I know I've had them hurt at times, but they're still dangerous. You can't afford to overcommit, especially when they're naturally heavier on the scales. All it takes is one big shot. So you've got to still stay switched on and be cautious.
Yeah, absolutely. Georgie, what do you know about your opponent this weekend? Have you been in sparring with him before? Have you come across any of his fights?
No, I mean, to be honest, I don't really know a lot. I mean, I know I was meant to fight, I think it was his brother for my last bout, but that never came into fruition. But yeah, I mean, they're all they come to have a good go. They've got pretty much every trick in the book. So you just got to be prepared for anything, haven't you?
Yeah. He's never been stopped as well. Do you fancy being the first one?
I mean, it'd be nice, but we'll see, wouldn't we? I'd also like to get the 6 rounds in because I think this might be my first and my last 6-rounder. So.
Yeah, do you know what, actually, Georgie, touching on that, I think it was last weekend or a couple of weeks ago, I watched, I don't know if you know, Sugar Boy Roy, Barney Smith, Royston Barney Smith.
Yeah.
I think you two have got sort of like a similar sort of style, that sort of like good flair and that sort of stuff. And I watched him go, I think it might have been 8 rounds, 6 or 8 rounds against a really tough, durable Mexican. And you just can't add value on what that brings, can you? Getting the rounds in, people always look for the stoppages and the big flashy knockouts. But for an education in the pros, you can't really sort of undervalue that, can you, getting the rounds in?
Yeah, I mean, you need to know you're fit to do the full distance because there will be someone that you can hit with everything you've got, and when they're standing in front of you, not affected, and you might be blowing, you need to know you can survive. There's no good thinking you're going to walk in, stop someone in 4, nice easy night, and get out. You need to know that you can really dig deep and get into the trenches where you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. Who have you got coming down, George, this weekend? Have you got friends, family coming down?
Yeah, all my friends, family, my girlfriend, all that. The usual bunch. They're all
Usual mob.
great supporters. Yeah,
Fantastic.
I really appreciate every single one of them.
Brilliant. What I wanted to say as well, Geordie, you had George, you had that decorated amateur career. Do you ever look back on those days and sort of look at them as being that sort of, just a fantastic time for yourself? And then how do you contrast that to being in the pros now? Because you've gone from someone who's, you've won all those sort of titles and trophies. You boxed at Repton, didn't you?
Yeah.
So coming from that sort of prestige, has the professional game been a bit of a downer, or was you geared for it? You knew what it was going to be like.
So I feel like I sort of knew how it's going to be. Like, I mean, it's the same job at the end of the day, isn't it? Like, yes, like once you turn pro, no one really cares about what you did as an amateur.
Yeah.
You're in there fighting. You've essentially got a clean slate, start again. Obviously, it's nice to have that confidence that I know the level I was at.
Yeah.
And it's a good base to start from. But pros and amateurs, it's a different game. You've got to completely adapt.
Yeah. And it is a different game, isn't it, in terms of how you approach the fight? And like you said, you might see your opponent sort of hurt or sort of backing up on the ropes, but you've still got to have that sort of, you've got to hang back a bit, haven't you? And sort of keep that in mind that you could just be one shot away, couldn't you?
Yeah, well, like in the amateurs, you could get an 8 count for just stunning someone for that split second.
Yeah.
In the pros, it don't happen like that. So you could have stunned them for that split second. By the time you've gone to pounce, they could have come round, and then they're just looking for that big overhand. And if you're not switched on, could be a dangerous one.
Yeah, exactly. Second outing this year, Georgie. How many times do you reckon you'll be out realistically this year, or how many times are you hoping to be?
Well, I think we're talking about September time, next bout.
Yeah.
And then potentially November. I think maybe another 2 times for the end of the year.
Yeah, 4 fights in a year. That's not bad at the stage of your career.
Yeah, you've got to stay active, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And Georgie, before we let you go, just a quick shout to the Hodgson Boxing Club. Are you still training out there with the likes of Tommy Jacobs?
Yeah, still training out there under Sablio, Alex Leo, and you got Fabio down there, the pad man. They're a good bunch down there. We all get along like a house on fire, and we're happy teams, a dangerous team, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I sort of follow you guys on Instagram, and it's always looks like, it's a great atmosphere down there. Tommy Jacobs buzzing around as well. I bet he's great to have sort of in and around the camp as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a good laugh, Tom. He's been around it all. He knows all the tricks of trade with boxing. They're all obviously having a few of the older boxing there. They know they've got the knowledge they can pass down to us.
Yeah.
Younger ones that are just starting out our professional. Yeah, it's a great atmosphere down the gym.
Absolutely fantastic, Jordan. Jordan, I can't wait to watch you box on Saturday. And from myself and Rob, just all the best, and I hope everything goes well for you on Saturday night.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, good luck, Georgie.
Lovely. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Right, Fight Town podcast listeners, that was Georgie Ellis, who is fighting this weekend at the York Hall. Neilson Boxing, and myself and Rob are pleased to welcome Jared Hayter, who is the commercial manager for Neilson Boxing, to talk about this card and those big IBO title fights. Jared, welcome to the Fight Town podcast. How are you?
Good, thanks. Good evening, gents. How are you both?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Welcome back. This is becoming a regular occurrence.
Oh, don't. Will I become just on every few episodes?
Yeah,
Don't know how good that is for the viewers.
No, it's good. It's good.
We're going to make you a podcasting superstar, Jared. There we go. It's it'll be your new title. But Jared, listen, let's get down to business with this Neilson Boxing card. Like we said at the beginning, it's 2 IBO titles. You've got that great relationship with them at the moment, and it's going to be a great night down at the York Hall, isn't it? Judging by the last Neilson Boxing event, it was an absolutely rammed to the rafters. Are we expecting the same this weekend?
Yeah, we're expecting it to be very busy. I don't know if you would have noticed, but we actually had to end up changing our ring walk last time because we knew the attendance was so high, and we all normally have that lovely ring walk from the stage. We actually had to drop that off just to squeeze in some more seats. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be another highly attended event for sure.
Nice problem to have, though.
A great problem to have. Obviously, we love having people in the house, but having that ring walk and the production is a big thing to us too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, that production, Jared, it sort of, I'm not going to say it sets you apart from a competition, but it's something that Neilson Boxing and yourself, you sort of, you're very proud of how the production looks. Is that something you want to continue or build upon?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, everybody knows it's been no secret that we continue to push to be televised. Obviously, having our televised show last year.
Yeah.
Also, what we have seen is we've seen a large portion of ticket sales of people who just want to come to Neilson Boxing Fight Town shows. Right. So they're actually purchasing direct rather than through the boxers. So clearly we're getting a bit of a following because of the show. It's great that it's a sport and everything, but people are there to be entertained as well. So it's about having that full package.
Absolutely.
I think having the kind of residency, if you like, at your call, you're going to pick up the locals of that category that you just said there, people who enjoy the show and will continue to buy every time you're there.
100%. I mean, there's shows at your call week in, week out. The fact that people choose, a testament to the fact that we definitely do put in a lot of effort into the production and the entertainment value.
Yeah, fair play.
Absolutely agree. Now, touching on the card for that night, Jared, there's, like we said at the start, there's two big IBO title fights. Casey Kademi's back out. It'd be great to see him fight against Ben Norman in that super flyweight IBO Continental belt. Am I right in saying?
Yes, that's correct. He was previously fighting Kazota, but there was some issues with that fight and it was taking a bit longer than we anticipated. And actually, Ben Norman said, right, he'd be happy to take the fight. So we took him up on that offer.
Brilliant. How is obviously he's fighting this weekend, but how has the recovery been for Casey? Because we know he was due to fight in a trilogy fight with was it for a fourth time, wasn't it? Ijaz Ahmed. How has that recovery been for him?
Yeah, as far as I know, recovery is absolutely fine. I think Casey's been plagued with injuries over the last few years. I think he's actually due to have been on most of the cards that we've had on York Hall over the last year. And for one reason or another, it just hasn't happened. But as far as I know, injury-free and ready for this big opportunity.
Has he sold a lot of tickets? Because he's got a good following, hasn't he?
Yes. Sold an absolute bundle of tickets, if I'm honest with you.
Brilliant.
Good stuff to hear. And the IBO, we saw Neilson Boxing work with the IBO at the beginning of the year. It was a great event. Is that become a new relationship, or has it just been a sort of avenue you've decided to explore with the IBO?
No, I think we spoke about this on the last pod. We've actually built quite a nice relationship with the IBO. They're very easy to work with. Erica there and Ian himself as well. They're very easy to work with. They actually sort of pitched us the idea for the European title for McGann, which was lovely. And now we're working, one title fight last time, two this time. Who knows what happens in September?
Absolutely. It's fantastic. Another title fight on the card, Jared, is Marie Connon versus Kate Radomska. That's tipped to be a bit of a barnstormer, as it's said. Are you looking forward to that fight as well?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's actually going to headline the bill. I think that was confirmed today that fight's going to headline the bill.
Fantastic.
As you may have seen, Marie was previously the French champion.
Yep.
And she did have an attempt at the European title, but fell a little bit short. And Kate Radomska is probably most known for now her fight that was on the Matchroom card, on the Katie Taylor card just recently.
Yeah, because she fights out of Ireland, doesn't she?
She does indeed, yeah. So, I think we all know in the female division it isn't as stacked as the male division, so they get these opportunities a lot earlier. I think for both fighters, whoever picks up this title, they're probably pushing on towards a world title opportunity in the next fight or two as well.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. I think the depth of the women's game is coming on leaps and bounds, and we're noticing year on year and year out there's just more and more names available now as well. Are you finding that as promoters?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you would have seen on our socials just recently we've announced the signing of two female fighters who will both be making their debuts in September.
Brilliant.
And they'll actually be at the card on Saturday to see the women's title fight, almost as this isn't too far away for yourself as well.
Yeah. And Jared, we've just, as Fight Town podcast listeners would have heard, we've just spoken to Georgie Ellis, who is he's a fantastic prospect at bantamweight. He's got a very level head on his shoulders, but he's certainly a gifted boxer. We've seen that from his amateur pedigree, but he's settling in nicely to the pros, isn't he now? Are you guys at Neilson Boxing, are you happy with the progress and what you're seeing from Georgie Ellis?
100%. I know, sort of, away from the microphones, we talk about how far we think he can get. I won't put that out there too much, just to put too much pressure on him. But you only have to look at his previous results, how clinical he is in his performances, and also who he's managed by. He's managed by Simon Legg. If you look at the other boxers that Simon Legg manages, he picks them well. He's got Anthony Kakash on his books, who is a world champion. So, and I think he only has a handful of fighters. So the fact he's got Georgie on his card means he definitely believes there's something special there. And I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, he's been. I mean, we had a Twitter Space presser for his debut, and it doesn't feel like 5 minutes ago since that. And this is already his fourth fight. Are you looking to keep him, continually active, because it seems to be bearing fruit at the minute?
100%. I think this is going to be his second 6th rounder. I may be wrong, but I think his previous was over 6 as well. And we all know at those lower weights, titles aren't too far away either. We saw that on the previous card with Harry Mullins. So, I think realistically, he's probably out on this card, probably out in September, and then we're knocking on the door of titles.
Yeah, and it's just to touch on that with Fight Town podcast listeners, Georgie Ellis comes with that sort of amateur pedigree background. He's certainly a boxer. If you can get down on Saturday night, he's a boxer you want to go and watch in the flesh. He's got all the skills to make it very, very far in the pro game. Another boxer, I believe, Jared, quote me if I'm wrong, who boxed out of Repton and an equally fantastic amateur career is Alfie Gaskin, and he's a big lad, isn't he? And it's going to be interesting to see how he goes in the pros.
100%. I think he has a great following as well. I think, in that gym he's with, you only have to look at the other boxers that are in that gym to know that he's getting some serious sparring and some seriously good training. I was quite shocked, to be honest, when he did his post-fight interview, how well spoken he was for his first interview. We said there about Georgie Ellis, how quiet he was on the pre-fight presser. Seems like Alfie's taken to it like a duck to water, and I can see him doing some good things. He is quite big. He almost has quite a big frame for his height. So it'll be interesting to see what weight he settles at as well.
Yeah, and I interviewed Alfie after his debut fight, and like you said, Jared, he's got a real sort of again a really good. I don't know whether it's the amateur pedigree or just being around boxing, but he was excited about that fight, and there was no pressure from his side. He just seemed to be really enjoying his boxing. And as we all know, when you've got a boxer who's like that, who's in there and enjoying it, it's always dangerous, isn't it?
100%. I think it's a nice match that he's got for this card as well. He's matched with Victor Idaka. Victor, he's a great fighter, and actually he comes to fight. He's not one of these journeymen who'll just cover up and do the rounds kind of thing. He's coming to fight, so it's a great test for Alfie. I'm sure he'll come through it, but it's a great match that's been put together for that one, in my opinion. Yeah,
fantastic. And Fight Town podcast listeners, chatting on those respects, you've got the 2 IBO titles, and if that's not enough, you've also got those fantastic prospects in Georgie Ellis and Alfie Gaskin with those beautiful amateur careers. It's good to see. Any other standout fights, Jared, for you, or sort of debuts that are sort of standing out for Saturday night?
I will say there's one that stands out, and it's probably because it's a bit close to home for Neilson Boxing. We obviously had Bradley Townsend on the majority of our Southwest shows, who's trained by Robert Lloyd Taylor, who might not be a household name, but if you do your history and look up your research, you will see that Robert Lloyd Taylor previously won the Prize Fighters tournament.
Yep.
And if you really look into it, you'll see that he entered that tournament with 30 minutes notice.
Wow.
He was crazy. He was the reserve and ended up winning his quarter, semi and final. So he was a 25-1 outsider, I think.
Wow.
And actually, so Robert Lloyd Taylor Jr., his son, will be making his debut on this card.
Yeah, and do you know what? I've seen a few YouTube clips of his son Lloyd Taylor Jr. fighting, and he looks like he's almost got the same sort of style as his dad. It's almost sort of uncanny, isn't he? He's got that sort of dropping his hands low and sort of letting go. It looks like he's going to be an exciting fighter, Jared.
100%. Yeah, you can just tell that his dad's obviously been training him for a very young age, and he's just picked up the stance and everything.
Yeah,
looks very, very relaxed, but very quick and sharp at the same time. I think he's an exciting prospect, and probably one that's sort of flown under the radar because he hasn't picked up those major amateur titles as Ellis or Gaskins has. But I think he's one particularly to watch out for over the next few years, and one that we could probably look at boxing at York Hall as well as Swindon.
Fantastic.
Yeah, good stuff. Another fighter who we saw, I believe they fought in March, Jared, at York Hall, was Courtney Bennett in the heavyweight division. It'd be good to see Courtney Bennett out again. He had a great debut, didn't he?
He had a great debut. That was his second fight on our card in March. And I mean, again, everybody loves a heavyweight fight. We've been through this before. Everyone loves the big punches. Everyone's there for the knockouts. I believe Courtney in the amateur days did have quite a few knockouts. So let's hope he can bring that to the pro game moving forward as well.
Yeah, and it's just to say as well, Fight Town podcast listeners, if you can get yourself down to the York Hall this Saturday, trust me when I say this, Neilson Boxing at the York Hall is an event you don't want to miss, and it's a great atmosphere, and also you get to see these boxers live in action in the famous York Hall. Any other fights, Jared, we need to look at before we wrap it up?
I think another one I'd love to mention is Luke Pearson. I actually knew Luke from the unlicensed days years and years ago before he turned over. I think he's now 7-0. Again, at that sort of lower weight class, I think he's probably 1 or 2 fights away from a title. He's making a step up again, and yeah, I think he's definitely one to watch. I think he's one that you could be seeing on the board website with a title next to his name by the end of the year.
Fantastic. And then in that fantastic domestic super bantam division, Rob, which we're completely obsessed with at the moment, aren't we? On the podcast.
Yeah.
But listen, gentlemen, anything else we need to go on before we say goodbye and see everyone on Saturday night? Any last comments from you, Jared?
No, I think if you haven't got a ticket, there's only a few left, and also, as we all saw from the videos previously, if you are coming to the shows, please arrive early, as the queues do get big very quickly.
Fantastic.
That's an understatement.
Right, listen, Fight Town podcast listeners, we shall catch you on the next show. Take care.